Hi, my name is Akihiro Suda. I'm a software engineer working for NTT Corporation, a telco company in Japan. I'm a maintainer of several open source software, including Ruby, known as Docker Daemon, and BuildKit, and FunctionID, and also Rancy. In this session, I'll talk about hardening Docker Daemon with rootless mode. Rootless mode means running the Docker daemon and all the containers as an unprivileged user for the sake of protecting the root user of the host system from potential attacks. Rootless mode was introduced as an experimental feature in Docker version 19.03, and it had several drawbacks, especially it didn't support cgroups, and also it didn't support overlayFS. So that means you couldn't specify resource limitation for rootless containers. But the next version of Docker comes with full support for rootless mode and now ready for your production. I will also talk about these kinds of recent updates and also show how it works under the hood. Let's take a brief look at what rootless Docker. It means running the Docker daemon as a non-root user on the host. It's not just about running containers as a non-root user. Here we are talking about running the whole stack, including Docker D, Container D, Rancy, lib network, and a bunch of other stuff, not just about containers. This mode efficiently protects the host system from potential attacks that exploit vulnerabilities or misconfiguration of Docker daemon or Container D or Rancy. So why do we need rootless? Actually, Docker is designed to be safe by default. It comes with a bunch of security features, including namespaces such as mount namespace and network namespace for isolating processes. And also it comes with capabilities such as capsys admin and capsys admin. And also it comes with cgroups for limiting device accesses and seccomp for limiting system calls, and also AppArmor and SG Linux for controlling file access permissions. So in theory, you don't need to care about rootless mode. But in reality, every software has bugs. So the root user in the container can break out container with exploit of such bugs. Here are some examples of the bugs. CVE 20195736 was a vulnerability of Rancy. It allowed replacing the binary of Rancy via procfs/procself/exe. And CVE 2019142271 was a vulnerability of Docker Daemon. It allowed injecting malicious library onto the host system by hijacking the process of Docker CP. And also, people often make misconfiguration and they sometimes expose the Docker API socket to the internet without any client authentication. Researchers say that there are thousands of such misconfigured hosts on the internet. So rootless mode itself is not the solution against these vulnerabilities and misconfigurations, but it can mitigate damage of attacks because the attacker cannot gain the real root user of the host system when the Docker daemon is running in rootless mode. The attacker may still gain access to an unprivileged user by exploiting vulnerabilities, but even in that case, the attacker cannot access any file owned by other users. And also, the attacker cannot modify kernel or firmware or any system files. And also, the attacker cannot do ARP spoofing or DNS spoofing. And there's a couple of things that are similar to Rootless Docker but quite different. One thing is sudo Docker. Of course, this is completely different from Rootless mode. The second thing is to add Armpit user account to a Linux user group named Docker, so that the user can gain access to socket file /bar/run/docker.sock. This is also different from Rootless mode because the Daemon is still running as the root, and the user can do whatever against the host with the root privileges. And Rootless mode is also different from Docker run -- user. It runs the container as an unprivileged user, but the daemon remains running as the root. And Rootless mode is also different from Docker D -- user ns - remap mode. And this mode is very similar to Rootless mode, but the daemon is still running as the root. All of them run the daemon as the root. So the user can gain the root privileges of the host system by simply running docker run -b/:host, or just by running docker run -- privileged. The next is a demo of Rootless mode. In this environment, my username is user with UID 4001, and I'm running Docker Daemon and also container D as this unprivileged user. And I can run some container, and I mount the host file system as /host. In the container, I gain the UID 0, so I have some limited mode of root privileges, but it's not real root. So I cannot show any file in the host file system. So cat /host/etc/shadow fails with permission denied. But in the container, I have the root, so I can install some application such as apt-add figurate. It works. And also I can run nginx HTTP server with -p 8080:80. It works. The next topic is how to get started with Rootless mode. Getting started with Rootless mode is quite easy. You just need to download a shell script from get.docker.com/rootless, and also you need to set a single environment variable docker_host. That's all of the installation steps. For installing Rootless mode, you do not need root privileges, and of course you don't need sudo. And all binaries can be installed under your home directory, so you don't need to have write access for /user/bin or /user/local/bin. But there are some prerequisites depending on the host OS. Especially, you need to have /etc/subuid and /etc/subuid to be configured for your own user account. But typically, these files are configured by default, so you don't need to care about them. And also, if you are using Debian or CentOS 7, you need to configure some sysctl values but the installation script shows helpful message if the prerequisites are not satisfied. And also there is a catacode scenario for rootless mode, so you can try installing and running rootless mode in a web browser. It's available free and very easy. So you don't need to type any command from keyboard. You just need to click these commands on the screen. So I add account and change user account and run get.docker.com/rootless and set environment variables and run the demo. Open the terminal to the variables and Docker info. It works. The next topic is how rootless mode works under the hood. The rootless mode is implemented by using user namespaces. Here is a terminal that shows an example of using user namespaces. In this session, the username is user, not root. But if we execute unshare command with --user and --map--root-user, the username changes into root. So did we gain the root privileges as in sudo command? Let's verify that question by trying to write a file in the root directory. So we run touch/evil and it fails with permission denied error. So we didn't gain the root privileges, but we are faking the environment for emulating root privileges that are enough to run containers. So with user namespaces, we can create other namespaces such as mount namespace, network namespace, UTS namespace, and IPC namespace. And we can do some operations like changing host name or mounting bind mount file systems. So for example, we can create an UTS namespace along with the user namespace by running unshare --uts. And now we can execute hostname command to change the hostname. This hostname is buried only inside this namespace and does not affect the host system. The next topic is snapshotting. On rootful Docker, we use OverlayFS so that we can create containers from an image without duplicating files. But it's basically not available for rootless users because of the limitation of the kernel. But if you are using Ubuntu or Debian, the kernel is patched to enable OverlayFS, so you can use OverlayFS in rootless mode. If you are using other distros, basically you need to use BFS driver, which is slow and wasteful. But the next version of Docker, version 20.0x, supports OverlayFS for any distro with kernel 4.18 or later by using FUSE file system. The next topic is networking. So with user namespaces, we can create network namespaces without root, but we still cannot create virtual Ethernet interfaces. So we use user mode TCP IP stack instead of virtual Ethernet interfaces. For example, we can use VPN kit, which are spun out from Mirage OS, and is also used by Docker for Mac and Docker for Windows. We also support Strap for NetDNS, which is spun out from QEMU. These stacks are slightly slow, but should be enough for most use cases. And for the best performance, we also support using setuid binary called LXC user nick so that you can use real virtual Ethernet interfaces. But this is currently experimental and it slightly sacrifices security, so it's still recommended to use VPN kit or Swapnet NS. And previously, the Rootless mode didn't support C groups, so you couldn't specify resource limitations such as Docker run -CPUs or Docker run -memory and Docker run -pits-limit. But now C groups is fully supported in the next version of Docker version 20.0x. But it requires C group version 2 and systemd. Cgroup version 2 is enabled by default if you are using Fedora. But other distributions require changing kernel command line via grab bootloader configuration. You need to specify systemd dot unified cgroup hierarchy equal 1. And there are several features still not supported by Rootless mode, including specifying app armor profiles and Docker checkpoint and Docker run --net equal host and exposing SCTP ports and also setting up overlay network. But in 90% of use cases, you don't need these features. So basically, you don't need to care about them. And here are some frequently asked questions and answers. The first question is Rootless mode still experimental? So yes, it's still experimental in the current version 19.03. But it's going to graduate from experimental in the next version of Docker version 20.0x. This version will be released in the next couple of months. The next question is Rootless mode the panacea that solves all the problems? The answer is no, definitely no. If Docker has a vulnerability, the attacker still may be able to dig out cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, or abuse the host as a springboard to attack other hosts on the internet for the sake of hiding the attacker's real IP address. And also, Rootless mode is not effective for vulnerabilities of kernel or VM or hardware. The next question is whether we can use Docker run -p to expose ports. Yes, you can, but be aware that port numbers below 1024 are called privileged ports and not available for rootless users. So basically, you need to use unprivileged port like 8080. So if you want to run HTTP server, you need to run Docker run -p 8080:80. But if you really need to expose privileged ports, you can do that by adjusting sysctl value proc sysnet IPv4 IP unprivileged port start, or by setting capnet bind service capability on a binary called Rootless kit. This is slightly advanced topic, so basically it's better to specify unprivileged port number such as 8080. The next topic is Rootless Docker versus Rootless Postman. Postman is yet another implementation of Docker created by Red Hat, and it supports Rootless mode as well. And Docker and Postman have been mutually exchanging a lot of codes for supporting Rootless mode, and they have almost the same features with almost same performance. So basically, there is no difference. But the only visible difference is the network lifecycle. So Rootless Docker doesn't support specifying Docker run --net net equal host. But on the other hand, Rootless Pod doesn't support creating custom networks with Docker network create. So overall, Docker has better support for Rootless mode, in my opinion. But if you really need to use Docker run -net equal host, Postman might be better choice for you. Let's conclude my talk with a recap. So, Rootless mode protects the root user of the host system from vulnerabilities and misconfiguration. It was previously experimental and didn't support C groups, but the next version, version 20.0x, is out of experimental, and it comes with full support for C groups. And now we can specify C group features such as Docker run -h CPUs and Docker run -h memory. This version will be released in the next couple of months. The Rootless mode of Docker can be installed by running a script available at https://get.docker.com/rootless. It's very easy to install. For further information of Rootless Docker, please refer to these documents shown in the screen. That's all of my talk. Thanks.